All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the SYA Spain Alumni Hangout. My name is Shauna Campbell, and I am the Admissions Marketing Manager here at School Year Abroad. So I have a couple special guests with me today. Anna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. First off, congratulations on your acceptance to SYA Spain, class of 2019. My name is Anna Hughes. I am the country manager for SYA Spain, and I'm also an alumna of SYA Spain as well. And I'm really excited to start working with you and your families. And again, congratulations.
Thanks, Anna. So we have two very special guests with us joining us remotely, Teddy and Vinay. Teddy, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Teddy Truex, and I'm calling in from Sudbury, Massachusetts, and I go to Lincoln Sudbury High School, and I went to SYA Spain last year.
Vinay?
Hi, my name is Vinay, and I'm calling in from McLean, Virginia, and like Teddy, I went to SYA Spain last year.
Great. So thank you so much for introducing yourself. So first of all, just to address the SYA class of 2019, congratulations. You guys must be so excited to attend, but I'm sure you also have so many questions. So that's why we have these Hangouts. Just to give you a little bit of the format tonight, I'm going to be asking our alums and Anna some questions, and maybe your questions will be answered with these few questions, and if not, at the later half of the Hangout, you'll be able to ask everyone your questions using the chat box that you should be seeing on your screen. And if you haven't done so already, please introduce yourselves, get to know each other, and tell us your name and what school you go to. So to start, Teddy, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you felt when you were first accepted to SYA Spain and what made you decide to attend?
Yeah, so I was pretty much just super excited when I was accepted. I already knew that I was going to go as soon as I got accepted. The person who first told me about SYA was a camp counselor I had, and he just was raving about the program for a good 3 weeks while we were on a canoeing trip. And as soon as he kind of mentioned it, I realized that's something I want to do. So I applied when I got home from camp that year, and then I got in the spring and immediately knew I wanted to go.
All right, Vinay, your turn.
I definitely say I had a similar experience. When I was accepted, I was actually in Spain with another host family on a school exchange trip. And I kind of was like, this must be fate. I got to make it there. So yeah, it was kind of no question about it. I love languages, and SYA just seemed to fit with what I wanted. And I actually did research to find, because I knew that I wanted to go on a year abroad, and SYA was one of the only programs that was accredited and that my school would accept and allow me to graduate on time. So.
Great, thank you both. So when you got to school, can you maybe tell us your first impressions of Zaragoza, your new school, and your classmates?
Yeah, so my first impression of Zaragoza was, I guess, just kind of a first impression of being in a city at all. The town where I live is not remotely a city. There are pretty much houses and a few schools, and that's about it. So it was really cool, I thought, to be able to just hop on the bus and go somewhere new and not have to get driven around everywhere. And then also just all my classmates, I felt like I already knew them really well, even just getting onto the plane. I felt like I had already kind of introduced myself and been introduced to probably a good half of the class before we even got to Spain. So that was really nice. And I think that kind of speaks to the character of, the SYA student population.
What about you, Vinay?
For me, so I'm actually from Oakland, so that's a pretty big city versus my boarding school, which is really small. So when I first got to Zaragoza, I was really excited, like Teddy said, that it was a city, and it was also gorgeous. I remember looking at pictures of the Pilar on like Google Images and being like, this is so photo edited, and it's not. It actually looks like that once you get there. So kind of awestruck. And like Teddy said, you meet a lot of people even before you get on the plane. Yeah, I think I knew at least, half of my classmates when I got on the plane. And the people there, a lot of them are like you in that they want to explore and they're really excited to be there. So the energy is really high, and you meet some special people there.
Great, and for those who are just joining us, I just want to remind everyone that if you have questions, please put them in the chat box and please introduce yourselves so we get to know you a little better. So next question, let's talk about your host families. And host families are a huge part of the SYA experience. So can you each tell me what your host family was like and maybe a favorite memory that you have of them?
Yeah, so my host family, they were kind of a little more hands-off than some of the other host families that people had. I was their 17th straight SYA student that they had. So they kind of knew the drill. They knew what they needed to do and everything. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, they kind of let me do my own thing, which was good for me because a lot of times I'm kind of a solitary person and I just need to be alone at times. But they also definitely were looking out for me. Like if it was, 12:20 or something, 10 minutes before our curfew on a weekend and I wasn't home yet, they would send me a text and I would say, oh, I'm 5 minutes away walking home from the train now. And so they were definitely looking out for me, and they were super nice and they welcomed me into their home. And I guess one of my favorite memories of them was my host dad had just a really thick accent that I could barely understand. Even at the end of the year, I still had trouble understanding him sometimes. But I just remember the first time when I felt like I was really connecting with him was this one night where everybody else in my host family they were out of the house for some reason, having dinner somewhere else. And we were watching a soccer game together while eating. And we just had about a 10-minute conversation. We were standing up, gesturing. It was super animated, just talking about how much we both hated Ronaldo. And I just thought that was really awesome.
All right, thanks, Teddy. How about you, Vinay?
So my host family experience, I actually ended up switching host families halfway through the program, which was the best decision I could have made. So I'd say it's really about knowing what you want. I'm not really like Teddy. I really wanted a hand-on family. I wanted to be a part of the family and really become close to them. And with my second host family, I really got to do that. They were fantastic. We still stay in contact. They're just wonderful people. Actually, I love them so much. They're like my second family. And actually, I think my favorite memory was probably, so my host brother, he's like 8 years old, but he's kind of like a little macho type dude. And I remember one time, he baked me a heart-shaped pizza, and I thought that was the sweetest thing that that he could have done. But yeah, so definitely your host family is a big part of the experience, and just really take advantage of it. And whether you're like me and you want a family that's hands-on, or like Ted, you prefer somebody who's hands-off, you're gonna find it at SYA. So
thanks, you guys. So let's talk about more of this host family process. It is really important for us to know what your preferences are. So Anna, can you talk about this process and what we do to help find you the best family?
Sure. So obviously we take great care in matching you with your host family. It's I think your host family experience is what makes SYA what it is. So early on in the enrollment process, we're going to send you a lot of documents. The two most important ones are the parents memorandum and the host family placement questionnaire. And these questions on these forms range from, dietary restrictions to what your weekends look like. So it's really important to be honest in those forms and don't fill them out in haste either. This is how we gather the most important information. So once we get that, we send it to our host family coordinator in Zaragoza, Sole, and she makes the placements. And she's been doing it for a long time. I graduated from SYA 12 years ago, and she was doing it then. And so she collects that information and makes the placements. She visits every home, and she also knows the families quite well. Many of them, like Teddy said, some of them have been doing it for 17 years. So they are very familiar with the program. And yeah, I think I can speak from experience, as can Teddy and Vinay. The host family it's a special relationship that lasts you truly a lifetime. So take advantage of it.
Thanks, Anna. So let's talk about school and classes. Can you tell us maybe what your favorite class was and maybe how SYA Spain classes are similar or different to the classes at your home school?
Yeah, so my favorite class by far was the political science class that I took. The teacher for it was just amazing. And it was, to that point, definitely my favorite academic class I'd ever taken. Unfortunately, I think that teacher's gone now, which is too bad. But yeah, I think so. The main difference. Everyone at SYA is really kind of driven to actually be learning, and they're really passionate about the things that they're learning. Whereas, especially for me, coming from a public school, obviously there are some people who are that way, but then there are other people who are just kind of there to get the grade, and they're not as worried about actually learning and interpreting everything that's being taught. So I thought it was really cool, especially with my political science class. I would have conversations about what we were learning with my classmates on a Saturday morning having coffee, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, in terms of the difference between classes versus my school versus SYA, so I actually come from a all-girls boarding school. We have about 300 students, so it's pretty small, and everybody here is pretty driven. Everybody here wants to learn, but what I really liked about SYA was the teachers and the fact that they cared like so much about your well-being. All they wanted to do was help you and to help you learn, and because it's such a small environment, you really get to know them, and they really get to know you. So that's something that I really valued. And my favorite class was definitely environmental science. We went on so many trips. We went to the Pyrenees. I saw waterfalls. It was one of the favorite classes that I had, and it actually motivated me to look more into sustainability and do a few other programs about that. But yeah, the teachers there are really powerful in terms of your experience.
All right, so let's thank you both, and let's now talk about co-curricular activities. There's a wide variety to choose from, so maybe you guys can talk about maybe a co-curricular activity you did or a friend did, whether it was like soccer or cooking class or teaching English to, say, a middle school. Just tell us about your co-curriculars.
Sure. Yeah, so I did a few. I took ping pong lessons for a little bit, and then I stopped doing that because I was not very good at ping pong. And then I also took a Spanish cooking class, and I volunteered at the local YMCA for a little bit. And I also did a program that's actually through SYA at the school called Hoven Erasmus. And that one was really cool. It's they run it twice throughout the year. So there's a first semester session and a second semester session. And it's 8 SYA students and then 8 students from local Spanish high schools. And you get together after school every Wednesday for maybe an hour and a half. And I think there are maybe 8 or 9 of them, 8 or 9 sessions throughout the semester. And each one you have a different theme of, say, one was politics, one was pop culture, talk about the differences and similarities between the US and Spain with a focus on something like politics or pop culture, something like that. And before each one SYA student and one Spanish student will get paired up to kind of make just a short presentation to introduce the topic. And I just thought that was a really good way to both meet Spanish people and also to learn about Spanish culture from people our own age.
Yeah, I totally agree with Teddy. I actually did Hoven Erasmus too during the second semester, and that was a really powerful experience in terms of being able to understand what Spanish culture was from people our age, and in addition to learning from our host families. But in addition to that, I also volunteered at the local YMCA, which was really nice. And I also took piano lessons. I tutored during the week, and I was on a swim team there. So I was really busy. And really co-curriculars, they're what you make it. SYA really gives you the choice. You can continue sports that you've been doing there, or like Teddy said, take a ping pong lesson. If you can find it in the city, and it's something that you want to do, chances are you're going to have the opportunity to do that, which was actually really cool. And another thing that I liked in terms of co-curriculars was I think halfway through the year we do like an exchange program where they pair you up with a Spanish student from another school, and then you actually go to that Spanish student's school, and you actually made like a good amount of Spanish friends through that program. So that's one of the co-curriculars that I liked.
Thanks, Vinay. So Anna, can you tell a little of what's offered at SYA Spain and how you can sign up for co-curricular activities?
So so what I like to say, and I think Vinay touched upon this, is like your life in Spain can look as similarly or as differently as you want it to. So you can get there and continue to play basketball if you want. We actually have our own SYA basketball team in Spain now, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, you can also get involved in the local community and integrate yourself by choosing to join local sports teams or volunteering. Definitely cooking classes is something that you should check out. That for me was like, I don't know, mind-blowing. I finally learned how to cook while I was over there. And in the summer before you go, so this summer, Angeles will be in touch with you and kind of give you a list of things that you can expect that you'll be able to participate in. And then you kind of will be able to start your relationship with her and ask her any questions that you may have about co-curriculars over there. And one thing, the Cinco Dias opportunity, so yeah, that's what Vinay was talking about. You'll have the opportunity to visit a school outside of Zaragoza and spend a week there. And I think take advantage of that because you get to see another part of Spain outside of your independent travel. And it's really cool to see what's going on kind of with your Spanish cohort. So
thanks, Anna. So let's talk about travel. Teddy and Vinay, can you tell us maybe one of your favorite trips you did, either like as a group, that's why Spain, or maybe independently?
Yeah, so my favorite place that I went to in Spain was San Sebastian, and I actually went there 3 separate times because at the beginning of the year in about November, the whole school breaks up into 3 groups and goes to 3 different parts of Spain. That's kind of the first travel out of Zaragoza that you do. And my group went up to the Basque Country, and most of that time we were in San Sebastian, and I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. The weather was terrible the whole time we were there, but I just loved the city and everything about it. So then later in the winter, I went back for another weekend, and then again in the spring, almost right before I came home, I went back again one last time.
Yeah, so travel is definitely one of the best parts of SYA, in my opinion. Like I went on a trip like Teddy, but instead of going to San Sebastián, I actually went to Extremadura, and Extremadura was really interesting. My favorite memory there actually was, if you know anything about Spain, then you'll know that they love like jamón. It's basically what their lives are centered around. And we got to go to a farm and see where these cute little pigs were raised and then turned into ham. But that was a really cool experience to get into the nitty-gritty of, Spanish culture. And in terms of educational trips, we go on so many throughout the year. I can't even remember all of the ones that we went to. I think my favorite one was with my environmental science class. We got to go to the Pyrenees, which was gorgeous. And just a wonderful experience. And independent travel actually allows you to be independent as a teenager and go and travel around Spain, which in America, it's not always done like that. And my favorite trip was actually a trip that I took with my friends to Sevilla. And you just get to really explore the city how you want to explore it, and take your own time and, spend time with your friends.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that Spain is the size of Texas, right? But there's the variety in landscape and dialects and languages is so drastically different from one end of the country to the other, and there's just so much to see within Spain.
Yeah. So speaking of independent travel and student-led travel, Anna, can you talk about independent travel and what SYA is looking for, or in order to get independent travel, or the permission to get independent travel?
Sure. So yeah, independent travel is definitely a privilege. It's not, you get there and you're granted automatic right to go travel within Spain. So it typically happens towards the end of the first semester. And you need to kind of come up with an itinerary to present to your resident director, and they will give it the okay, and then we need the okay from your family back home. And so your family has the right to say no or yes. And so it's a great opportunity, yeah, to explore more of the country, and just see it as with a small group of your friends. Yeah, it's wonderful. And there is a big sense of independence. But like I said, it's earned, and you do feel just kind of very confident in your ability to navigate the language and the country too.
All right, so before we turn questions over from the audience, Vinay or Teddy, is there anything else you guys want to mention or add?
Go to SYA.
No, yeah, truly. SY was one of the best years of my life, and I think that rings true for a lot of people. So yeah, definitely just take the experience and do what you will with it. It's your life and it's your choice, but it's a fantastic time.
All right, so far we actually haven't had any questions. So I guess I'll ask you a couple myself. So how has it been for you guys readjusting and going back to the US after being abroad for a year?
It's definitely been kind of tough for me. I kind of feel like I grew just immeasurably last year as a person. And now I've come back to my same high school, and everybody there is still kind of the same. So I have kind of just been going through my senior year so ready to go to college and kind of move on with my life. But it also has been really nice to be kind of back into the swing of things with my friends. All of my friends who I had before I left are still my same best friends that I have now. And it has been fun just enjoying senior year. But there also is a certain amount of maybe not catch up, but there's some a couple of classes and that kind of thing that I missed last year. So now as a senior, I am taking a much harder course load than I might have taken if I had been at my school last year. But definitely worth going.
Yeah, I think the adjustment period can be kind of difficult. Like Teddy said, when you come back, you have grown a lot, and some of the people here haven't. I know my boarding school, there are a lot of like rules and regulations, so it was kind of difficult to just like get back into the swing of things. Like you have to be in your dorm by 9 o'clock. You have to, like some people have lights out. So that was kind of a difficult adjustment because I like living, being able to, go to lunch with my friends if I want to. And yeah, in terms of course load, like Teddy said, like I'm having to take American history, which is like a required course. But in reality, I think that like I'm not having to play catch up. I took the classes at SYA that I was able to take and that I'm able to graduate with. And yeah, I mean, it's an adjustment period, definitely, but SYA is definitely worth it. And you learn a lot about yourself while you're there.
So a lot of the people watching right now, they could be deciding whether or not they want to go to SYA Spain. Can you give them maybe a piece of advice that you thought would have been helpful if someone had told you this before you had left?
Ooh. The piece of advice that I would give you is if you're worried about, like the language component and not necessarily being completely proficient with your Spanish. I wasn't either. I went through probably the first 3 weeks understanding maybe every 25th word that my host family said to me. And I had the most incredible year of my life. It was amazing. And anybody who's feeling any kind of apprehension about the whole language aspect, that happens to everyone. The first couple of weeks will be awesome. I'm glad you decided to go.
Yeah, in terms of advice, I definitely agree with Teddy. But I would say just if you're trying to decide, just know that if you do choose SYA, like you're almost like the experiences that you have there are so precious and invaluable that not every high schooler is gonna get them, and you're gonna be a very like special type of person. It makes you stand out in college. It makes you see the world actually differently. You start realizing that there are different ways to live than the way that America lives, and it's just it's a wonderful experience.
Did either of you take Uriel's cinema class?
No, I didn't.
I took it, and that was one of my favorite classes there.
So I don't know if there's a specific movie that we watched in that class called Los Amantes del Círculo Polar. I don't know if you watched it, Teddy, but there's a line in the movie that says, venga valiente, and it kind of means like, go on, be brave. And that's the piece of advice that I would give myself if I could do it all over again, because my Spanish was not great. I was at the level 2, but definitely struggled. And I was so embarrassed of my Spanish level when I got there that it prevented me from kind of hitting the ground and running. So if I could do it all over again, I would just kind of be a bit braver and not be afraid of making mistakes, because they're bound to happen, but they kind of make the experience what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. You're going to get lost a lot, but it's such an adventure, Yeah.
I think I've heard this a lot, and I've studied abroad myself, but one of the things you learn is to be flexible, and between the language, between traveling, between school and everything, and living with a new family, you really learn how to go with the flow and be flexible, and that's just a skill that just comes automatically, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have it, it's like you'll have it the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you both so much for joining us in this hangout. I do want to let everyone watching, let everyone know a couple things. First of all, if you haven't already, we do have an Instagram account. If you don't already follow us, you should take a look. It's at School Year Abroad. Please tag us and stuff. I'm sure many of you receive deal packets. Use the hashtag SYA 2019 if you want to tag us at all. And we might just repost and share. Other things to keep in mind, if you haven't done so already, also look at our campus reporters. Campus reporters are ambassadors at each of our schools, and they are responsible for bringing content to you guys and to future SYAers. So if you are in Zaragoza and you do want the chance to become a campus reporter, this is something you'd work with me with. You could either be a photographer, videographer, a blogger, or a combination of the three. So definitely check into that opportunity late this summer, and hopefully it'll be something you'll be interested in, and you'd be featured on our social media and on the website. So any other questions you have, any specific questions, we can have Anna answer. Anna is your country manager. And she knows everything about SYA Spain, obviously as being an alum and being an assistant director of admissions. So Vinay, Teddy, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. It's been wonderful having you. We wish you the best of luck in the future, and please keep in touch. And thank you all who are watching. Thanks so much and have a good night.
Have a good night, guys. And again, congratulations on your acceptance.
Yes, congrats. Take care.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks for having us.